A friend of mine was working for a car dealership years ago, and this dealership was kind of set up on kind of high above the lot. So their offices, they looked out a glass out over this lot. You know, their offices lined up against in this lot, and all their desks were by the glass, so they could look out and see over the whole lot and kind of see if anybody was out there. And one day he had been went and got him some coffee and fooled around the break room, and he came back and he had just set his coffee down, and as he was about to sit in his seat, he noticed a man out in the parking lot looking at a truck. And the first thing he did is he looked around real quick to see if anybody, you know, the salesmen were going out there. He didn't see any salesmen approaching the guy. He didn't see anybody else in the office seem to notice what was going on. So he cautiously said something. He said, "Guys, is anybody helping that guy?" And they all stopped their conversation and looked. And they said, "Oh, man, that guy ain't going to buy nothing. No one's going to go out there and help that guy." And he goes, "Well, I'm going to." And so he took off out there and went and helped this guy. And this guy was an elderly black man in overalls and a John Deere hat. And the guy was looking at a pickup, and he walked up to the guy and he introduced himself, and they talked a minute. They talked about the truck, and the guy asked some questions about the truck, and he showed the guy around and let him look at the truck and all. And the guy said, "Well, I tell you what, I'd like two of these pickups. I'd like one for me and one for my son." And Bo, he's kind of like, "Well, man, what am I going to do now? This guy's wanting two trucks. There's no way he can pass his credit. I'm going to go in there and these guys are just going to laugh at me. I've just wasted an hour with this guy." And he goes, "Well, sir, you know, before I do anything like that, can I talk to your banker? Can I get with your banker and see, you know, if we can do the deal or not?" He goes, "Yeah." And he gave him his banking information, and he went inside, and of course everybody's kind of looking at him when he walks in. He walks over to his phone, he calls up that banker, and he tells him the gentleman's name and that he's there on a car lot, and that he's wanting to buy two pickups. And there was a pause on the phone, and that banker said, "Son, you sell that man anything he wants. He owns 2,000 acres of the finest soybean fields in this country." You know, Bo was blown away by that. He couldn't believe his ears. You know, he couldn't believe what was going on. You know, everybody had judged that gentleman for the way he dressed and what he looked like, and Bo had done so too. He started to doubt himself. But you know, he got that sale, and he did it against the judgment of his peers, against what they thought he should do. But he just went to help somebody. He went to do his job, and something awesome happened. You know, we need to be careful when we judge people. We need to be careful when people tell us they want to do things. A lot of times the first thing we want to do is rip on them when they tell us about a dream they've got. You know, it reminds me of another story of a guy that was out out fishing, and he's checking crab traps. He's pulling these crabs out in the Atlantic Ocean and throwing them in this big bucket he had in his boat. And the guy that was with him had never been with him, and he was mesmerized because the bucket was open. He thought the crabs could just crawl right out. And he said something to his friend. He said, "Listen," he said, "if I just threw one crab in that bucket, you're right, it would climb out. But," he said, "see, when there's more than one crab in that bucket and one of them starts to climb out, the ones on the bottom will reach up and drag him back down." Wow, what a lesson there. Don't be the guy on bottom dragging someone down. Admire greatness. Admire what someone's doing. Pattern yourself after them. Take inspiration after them. And be like old Bo. Things may not look right. The elements may not stack up perfectly, but he went for it anyway. and he got the reward for it. You guys have an awesome rest of the day and win today.